Traveling with FPV drones can be stressful because you pretty much can't find another item on Earth that looks more like a bomb than FPV batteries. Recently, I've got quite a few messages from people asking me just how I am able to fly with all my FPV gear. So in this video, I'm gonna cover all the little tips and tricks that I have, including one that has literally saved me hours and hours and hours of my life. So anyways, let's get into it. So this video is gonna be relatively quick and to the point because I know your time is super valuable. That being said, I'm not gonna go super into depth, so if you'd like me to do a more in-depth video about all of my FPV gear or anything like that, just leave a comment down below. Also, at the end of this video, I'm gonna be giving away a bunch of FPV stickers with this logo on it, so make sure you stick around for that. So the first thing that I wanna talk about in this video are the actual bags that I use to travel around with my FPV gear. Then later on, I'll get more into like individual tools and actually how I pack them to make the airport easier. So whenever I travel, especially for jobs when I have a bunch of gear, I travel around with one adventure bag that I bring with me everywhere I go once I'm at the destination, and then one carry-on, just so I can keep all of my important gear with me at all times. And then finally, I have a checked bag where I put things like clothes, toothpaste, toothbrush, all the things that are significantly less important than drones. The main bag that I use is this Nomadic Peter McKinnon camera bag. I absolutely love this thing and highly recommend it if you're an FPV pilot for two specific reasons that I'll get to in a second. I'm planning on doing a video about all the actual FPV gear that I take in my bag in the future, so make sure you're subscribed if you do want to see that video too. So the two reasons that I really like this bag for FPV is that it has optional outside straps. So I can just click this on right here, and then I can put up to 2 drones on the outside of the bag. But more than that, it has this entire back pocket here that actually expands open. So you can actually put 2 smaller FPV drones or 1 bigger drone inside the backpack itself. And that's super helpful on hikes when it starts raining or something. A lot of other FPV bags that I've seen just have exterior FPV drone storage. So that's really nice just to keep it out of the rain. Anyways, this bag is pretty pricey, so it's not essential and there are other cheaper options. But I've found in the past that if I go with the cheaper backpacks, I'll spend like $150 on a backpack and it'll only last me a year. And so I just have to buy another $150 backpack after that. So 3 years ago, I decided to invest in this bag and I've loved it so far. Some cheaper options that I've heard good things about are the Rotor Ride FPV backpack and the Torval Quad Pit Stop backpack. That's a mouthful. But in the end, just pick a backpack that works for you. Like I talked about before, I never travel anywhere without the essentials actually with me on the plane, so not in checked bags. And with drone gear, your bag can get heavy super quickly. And because of that, I also travel around with this carry-on. Especially if you're traveling internationally with multiple connections, it's just kind of sketchy to put any important things in your checked bag because it's pretty often that things get lost, especially if you're on a very important job. I actually recently had a job where I was filming FPV for a cruise ship and it was going from Nome, Alaska, like far kind of north Alaska, all the way down the coast to Victoria. And it was like this massive 2-week trip that I was shooting FPV for. So I brought 6 drones. Most of them were in my checked bag. And of course, on the way there, they lost our bags. And from the time we landed in Nome to the time we left on the boat was like less than 24 hours. So if our bags didn't come, we would have been totally screwed for the whole trip because we wouldn't have any warm clothes, we wouldn't have most of my drones, and it just would have been a bad situation. For some reason on that specific trip, I didn't bring a carry-on. I really don't know why. But if I had, I could have just put all the important stuff in the carry-on with me just in case our bags didn't show up. Luckily, they did and we were fine. But the carry-on that I usually use is from SKB Cases. I think it's called the 2011 7DL, which is the biggest one they have that you can use as a carry-on. This thing is insanely durable and I know wherever I go, my gear inside will be safe. I feel like I'm opening up the nuclear football. But basically inside here, just a bunch of dividers so you can organize your stuff. And since I bring both the carry-on and the backpack, I try to put all the heaviest stuff in the carry-on because obviously it rolls and it's just really heavy carrying all the stuff in your backpack. And constantly carrying around a 50-pound backpack is not good for your vertebrae. Next up, let's talk about how you should properly travel with FPV gear. Most importantly, the batteries. Batteries are the #1 thing to keep in mind when you're traveling on a plane. First off, before you pack anything, you really should discharge them. I usually usually just try to fly them every time before I get on a plane. But my friend Parker has this big discharger that you just plug them into and it discharges them to a safe voltage. I'll leave a link to that down below. The second thing to know is that they have to come with you on the plane. You can't check them. You can't check them for two main reasons. One is the fact that the cargo hold isn't pressurized as well as the part where passengers are. So there's more of a risk of like the shell of the battery breaking. And then two, batteries just randomly catch on fire sometimes. And if a fire started in the cargo hold, it would definitely not be good. And this actually works in my advantage most of the time because anytime there's any low overhead storage space and they try to get me to check this bag, which I really don't want to do, I just tell them there's lithium batteries in there and then they're not allowed to check it. So they always end up finding space. Flight attendants are usually super accommodating. And I've even had one time where there literally wasn't any space available at all and they just used their personal storage space. So they're usually really helpful. And then because there is always a small chance of fire, I recommend getting one of these fire safe bags. I have no idea if these work or not. I've never had a battery catch on fire, but you basically just put all your batteries in there and then slide this into your backpack. It also is super helpful for security because if they want you to pull your batteries out, it's kind of annoying to pull them all out individually. So with this, you can just take one thing and put it down. They're super cheap on Amazon, and again, I'll just link it down below. Next thing I want to talk about are all the little tools and giblets that I bring to just make sure I can make basic repairs on my drones. So this is my little GoPro / repair tool bag. And in here, I have, first off, this little tool here. So this actually loosens props with these two things, and then also has two Allen keys to sort of take apart your drone. But recently, we've had a big upgrade to life, and I just got this electric screwdriver, and I'm gonna be bringing this along with like two different heads, but basically you can just take apart your drone super easily with this thing instead of having to like work hard and turn it. Now you do have to be careful to not bring too big of tools, so I'm not bringing anything ginormous, but these ones definitely work. Another essential thing that has honestly saved my ass a ton of times is just some electrical tape. You can tape wires down super easily with this. And then recently I had a case where I actually somehow broke one of the battery holders on my drone, but I had that, so I just wrapped it around the drone for that flight and it worked out. I also just bring a bunch of extra GoPro stickies and mounts and stuff just in case anything falls off. Most FPV pilots use that like 3D printed GoPro mount, but I like the stickies way better because you can just super easily lock it on and take it off. And then for the drones themselves, I always just make sure to take the props off before I go anywhere. This makes sure they don't get damaged and just doesn't like cut up any clothes or anything that it's next to. Typically on trips, I bring anywhere from 3 to 6 FPV drones just in case I crash. Like I said, I brought 6 to Alaska because boats and drones just do not mix well, and I'm glad I did bring 6 because I ended up losing one, but luckily I had a backup long-range drone that worked just fine. Okay, so that's about it as far as specific things that I bring on the trips and how I pack them. Even when you're prepared and you check all your boxes, TSA sees this giant block of batteries and still usually questions you. So the next trick I'm gonna tell you about is like the granddaddy of all traveling with FPV tricks. Unfortunately, this only applies to people in the US, but I believe there is a European version, and that is to just get TSA PreCheck, which basically is a program in the US where you go in for an interview and they just confirm that you're not a terrorist. You pay $78 and then you can go through a smoother, expedited security service. Before I had PreCheck, and even when I'm in a country that doesn't have PreCheck, the security just loves to completely rip apart my bag. They always like swab the batteries to make sure it's not a bomb, and it just holds me up for so long. I totally understand. I definitely don't want any bombs on the plane either, but when it happens to you, it's really frustrating. But with PreCheck, 95% of the time, my bag just goes straight through and I can walk right on the plane, and the lines are usually a lot shorter. I think the European equivalent of this is called EASA, and I honestly wish I had an affiliate link for PreCheck because I've gotten so many people to sign up for it throughout the years, but it really is just the best. Especially if you're an FPV pilot or have any kind of camera gear. I just can't recommend it enough because it just makes life so much easier. And before I end this video, I want to give away a bunch of FPV stickers to you guys. I'm starting a new FPV mailing list where I'll be giving you guys early access to videos and just doing a bunch of cool giveaways and stuff in the future. So I'll leave a link for you down below, but if you put your email in and join, I'll send you a link to get some free FPV stickers with this logo. You just have to pay for the shipping. As always, I appreciate the hell out of you guys for watching my videos. And if you want to support me making more of these videos in the future, make sure you drop a comment or a like down below. And if you like this video, I know you're going to enjoy this video. See you on the next one. Peace.